All right, folks, welcome back to Dirty Boots Capital. I am your host, Tony Lopes, and today we have on the amazing Rebecca Whitman. Rebecca, thank you for joining us.
Hi, Tony. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I read your bio. I took a look at all that you did, and I said, oh my God, I have to have Rebecca on to share so much with the audience here. So you work basically transforming women from being burnt out to being, as you say, balanced, beautiful, and abundant. And that is such a beautiful message because there's a lot of people out there who are burnt out, who have anxiety. There's a lot of stresses in our world today. So I want to, kind of unravel that of how you turn women from being burnt out to being balanced, beautiful, and abundant. So we'll get into that. But I also want folks to know that the caliber of guest we have here in having Rebecca Whitman with us. She was rated the number one life coach and empowered woman of the year, which is just such a huge, feather in your cap, Rebecca, to be rated number one life coach. I mean, that's huge. So kudos to you. And again, it just shows the caliber of guest we have here on Dirty Boots Capital. And then also, you are, as if all that isn't enough, you are the best-selling author of three books. So maybe we can get into that. But again, just another huge accomplishment being a best-selling author of three books. So let's rewind this back to where we originally started, transforming women from burned out to being balanced, beautiful, and abundant. How do you go about doing that?
Yeah, that's such a great question. Well, I wasn't always balanced, beautiful, and abundant. I moved to LA 22 years ago to be an actress, and I had small parts on big shows like Friends, CSI, and 24. And I never did catch that break as a working actress. So I supported myself working at children's acting schools, which I totally loved because I don't have kids, and it's so fun to help them with the performing arts. And while the kids were at school, I would attend lectures with great thought leaders like Michael Beckwith, Esther Hicks, Wayne Dyer, Louise Hay, and they taught me about the law of attraction. I started applying that to my job at the kids acting school, and before I knew it, I was making six figures working part-time, which is the name of one of my books. I I did not have as good of luck applying the law of attraction to my love life, and I ended up marrying someone who was very toxic, emotionally abusive, and 3 years after marriage, I got a divorce. And as the marriage was slowly unraveling painfully, my dad was slowly dying in a nursing home back in Ohio painfully. And in one of the last conversations with my dad, he said, "Rebecca, the way you're living your life is very unique. I think you should write a book." So a few months later, my divorce was finalized. My dad had passed away, and I was sitting across the desk from my financial planner. And he said, "Rebecca, I'm really shocked to look at your portfolio. You're actually a millionaire the year that your dad dies and you have a divorce. And I think you should teach women how you're so resilient." So I looked at my life and I realized that there were seven key areas, which I now call my seven pillars of abundance. And when you have all seven areas of life in alignment, you are balanced, beautiful, and abundant. I'm now happily married to my soulmate. I have a hit podcast, and I empower women to create a six-figure side hustle or to find their soulmate in midlife.
That's wild. So there's a couple of things like as you're just going through this, I'm making some notes because you said so much in that and so much goodness for the audience here to take away from you shared. So law of attraction. I mean, that's a pretty powerful thing. I think we all get it, but it's a nice reminder to have. In terms of if we want better in our lives, if we want more in our lives, there's a certain if you're mean and grumpy and a negative attitude and just a negative Nelly all around, you're probably going to attract that same crowd. Whereas if you're
Yeah.
positive and working towards goodness, you're probably going to attract that same positivity, and have people who are lending a hand up to help you up that because not every day is going to be a good day, right? We know
Yep.
that as we work to achieve, really, hard things in our lives, it's always better to have that hand up. So, the law of attraction, I just want to double back and just kind of, make note of that for the audience. It's, we all got to think about what are we transmitting? in our lives,
Yes.
in our day? Are we transmitting that negativity and a certain attitude that probably isn't the best for us to transmit? Or do we need to recalibrate? And so here we are at the beginning of 2024. It's a good thing to kind of recalibrate and reassess what are we doing. So I'm so glad you brought that up because that's huge, and I'm sure it goes a long way to helping women, live a balanced life, a beautiful life, and a life of abundancy. So great there. You talk about, your dad saying, "Hey, you should write a book," and then your financial planner saying you should write a book. And it's funny how sometimes others can see more in us than we ourselves can see. I want to transition and talk about, that is one of your superpowers now, is the books that you've written and how you communicate your message. You have a superpower there. How do others find their superpower in life?
Yeah. So, what do you love to do? What comes with ease and grace? What do people look up to you for? What do people ask you advice about? What is something that you're just good at? You've been good at it since you were young. And, what is something that you would like to be known for or remembered for when you make your transition to the next world? So, those are some questions to ask yourself. Finding your superpower is kind of like finding your life purpose, and it gives your life kind of a north star, a direction to go. And I feel like a lot of people are very lost, and your life purpose can change. I'm like I said, I moved to LA to be a famous actress, and that didn't work out. But the same skills that I was going to use in acting, storytelling, public speaking, communication, inspiring, articulation, those are all the same exact skills that I'm using as a life coach and a speaker and an author. Your superpower stay with you on your life journey, or maybe you can discover it later in life and realize I have this hidden talent that I didn't even know I had.
And it's amazing how when you discover that superpower, like for you, it was being able to write your books and be able to communicate your story and add value to people's lives. How that snowballed, that superpower snowballed to now being on stage, being a keynote speaker. Wow, right? Just being able to take that superpower and now make it even more as you're sharing this. I mean, this is very valuable stuff for us to be thinking about, especially here. It's early January, 2024. A lot of us are taking a look, assessing our goals for the year. And also in some cases, like I also go back and take a look at 2023 and say, what went well, what didn't go well, and how do I change that? And then also looking at my goals. But one of the things as you're chatting and you're sharing this idea about a superpower, right? We're thinking through like what is it? And it comes down to value. What value do I bring to this world? Do I bring to the stage, right? To those loved ones around me? What value? And if you're getting stuck there and you're thinking, wow, I'm not bringing any value, or you don't think you bring any value, just having that conversation with yourself to talk about how you need to create value in whatever way it is, right? It could be, in your case, writing books to help women become more abundant and powerful in their lives. That's great, or if like for example, my sister writes Christian children's books. It's not a money maker. She's not doing it to make money. She's doing it to spread joy and spread some learning from that regard. But that's the value she brings to the world each and every day, which is beautiful. So everybody needs to assess that value that they're bringing to the world. And with that, their superpower that comes along with it, that they can then explode like you've done, which again is just awesome that you're here with us sharing this with our audience. I appreciate that greatly. Um, how important do you think, again, we're at the beginning of 2024, how important do you think goals are in terms of achieving your superpower or achieving an abundant life? What do you think about
I
that?
think they're really important. I encourage my clients to set goals in all seven pillars of abundance, and I give them affirmations to help make that goal a reality. So
Mm,
each of the areas are spirituality, having a connection to the divine, whatever that is for you. The second pillar is health and fitness. Being, healthy is more important than being wealthy, because you can have all the money in the world, and if you're not able to leave the house, you can't even enjoy it. So health is the second pillar. The third pillar is emotions, being in a state of abundance rather than scarcity, knowing that there's plenty enough of whatever you want. The next pillar of abundance is romantic, having a romantic partner that enhances your life and supports you, and that makes you, believe in yourself rather than criticizes you and makes you doubt yourself. The next pillar of abundance is mental, working on learning new skills, whether it's listening to an awesome podcast like the Dirty Boots Capital podcast, or listening to an Audible, a YouTube, learning a new language, learning a new sport. The next one is social, having a community of people who have actually achieved the goal that you want to achieve. So if
mm,
you want to be wealthier in 2024, hang out with wealthy people. If you want to be fit, hang out with fit people. If you want to be happy, hang out with happy people. It's pretty simple.
mm.
And finally, financial. And a lot of people, I know this is a business podcast, including myself, focus on the money first. They think I'll just work really hard. I'll make a ton of money. I'll hire a personal trainer. I'll look really hot. I'll attract my soulmate. We'll go on spiritual retreats and we'll work on our mindset and socialize with other couples. But in my personal life experience, it didn't work that way. I had to be healthy. I had to have friends and be in love and have a spiritual practice. And when I did all that, then I started attracting money, opportunity, more status, so to speak. And that is exactly what happened for me. So I teach that there are seven pillars of abundance. And I even have a training coming up this month called Elegant Warrior Training, where I teach women how to have a level 10 in each of these seven areas of life.
So I love how you go into the mind, body, spirit of things and how you coach and how you train people. I think that's super important. And you mentioned, just kind of talking about the mind as part of that mind, body, spirit. Help us understand the importance of mindset in all that we do. Obviously, having a negative mindset doesn't help us in our lives, but help us understand that maybe like how do we improve our mindset? Like, what are some simple things we can do? You already mentioned, hey, if you want to be wealthy, hang around with wealthy people. If you want to be more fit, hang around fit people who exercise and eat well. Like, what are some other things we can do to help our mindset?
Well, all thoughts are either coming from love or fear. So this is not my teaching, it's a Course in Miracles. But if you're thinking about happiness, bliss, excitement, satisfaction, appreciation, gratitude, that's coming from love. And that's what I call an abundance mindset. Or you could be coming from fear, resentment, anger, jealousy, bitterness, skepticism, prejudice,
Mm,
divisiveness. That is all coming from a fear-based emotion, which is a scarcity mindset. So the goal when you catch yourself in fear, doubt, and worry, which is totally normal, I do it all the time, it's part of the human condition, is to catch yourself. So say, oh, okay, let's say that I'm thinking there's not enough time. A lot of people are feeling overwhelmed that there's not enough time. Okay, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm in a conversation with myself of there's not enough time to do everything that I want to do today. So how can I switch that around? Well, first it's being aware, right? That's the first, I call it the 4 A's. The first one is aware. Okay, I'm thinking there's not enough time. The second A is to accept it. Okay, I'm not going to judge or criticize myself for not, being perfect. And okay, I'm getting into scarcity around time. So the second A is acceptance. The third A is action. I'm going to do something different to change this negative thought pattern. And the fourth A is affirmation. So the action could be an affirmation or it could be something else. But the affirmation would be, I have plenty of time to do what's important to do today. You could have the
Yeah.
same scarcity conversation around energy. I don't have enough energy today. I'm tired. Or you could have it around love, always be alone. All the good ones are taken. Or it could be around money. I don't have
Yeah.
enough money. Why does that person over there seem to make money so easily and I'm always struggling? So you could have scarcity conversations around anything. And one of my teaching methods is to help people find their scarcity conversations, which are also known as their old stories or their limiting beliefs, and flip those into abundance conversations. Change your story, change your life, and then I give them an affirmation to help the new story stick.
This is wild, and here's why. And my audience, I'm sure they've heard me talk about fear multiple times, and I've had other folks on the podcast talk about fear. And I love your perspective because it allows people to think about fear and how to combat fear in a different way. We're only born with two fears in our lives. As a baby, the only fear you have are these two: the fear of falling down and the fear of loud noises. And if you've ever been around a baby, those are the only two fears they are born with. Because if you clap your hands, they become very startled, right? You can see that. And you can see when they go to learn how to walk, they're always putting their hands out. They're always cautious about falling. Those are the only two fears we are born with. Everything else is made up here in our own
Mm.
mind. And so there's a lot of different ways we can combat those fears. And I love the way that you explained, be aware, the first A, awareness, second A, being accepting of that, know about it, know that's how you tick, and that's okay. But the third A, take action, right? Take action on combating those fears, and then have some affirmations along the way, and celebrate your successes along the way. So have that affirmation. So that's pretty powerful, and I hope for our audience, it's yet a different way that we talk about fear and we talk about combating it. So thank you, Rebecca, for walking us through that. As we talk about abundance and we talk about our fears and we're overcoming things, we're also becoming, and a lot of my audience will understand this because, again, we talk a lot about it. We want folks to be resilient in their lives, and having abundance in your life and combating your fears helps with resiliency. Can you help us understand, what does resiliency mean to you, and how do you coach or train around resiliency?
Okay, that's a great question. Resiliency doesn't mean getting frustrated or falling down, because that's just, as I said, part of the human condition. We get frustrated, we fall down. It's how long you stay down. When something doesn't go your way, do you stay upset for a minute, 5 minutes, 5 weeks, 5 months, 5 years, 10 years, the rest of your life? Because that is resiliency. It's the bounce back. If you think of pushing a beach ball under the surface of a pool, and I'm sure we can all picture that, we end up holding ourselves down below the surface of the pool. If we let go and surrender and just say, all right, I did the best I could, I'm not in charge, the beach ball is gonna actually go up higher. So what if we thought about failure differently? What about if we thought, first of all, there was no failure, because I either win and get what I want or I learn. And when I'm learning, I'm actually winning. I'm bouncing back up over that pool. And failure is the stepping stone to success. And the higher your tolerance is for failure and rejection, the more successful you're going to be in the business world.
Just a wild perspective, right?
Mm.
I mean, I think the school system, right? I mean, it the school system teaches us, this fear of failure. Like, oh my God, failing is bad, and we get a bad mark or grade on a test or something like that. And so again, it's almost like the human condition is failing is bad. And we need more folks like you out there saying, no, it's just a stepping stone. This is part of the learning process. As long as when we fail, we learn from it, and we tomorrow we're a better person as a result, and we do, just awesome stuff the next day because we learned along the way. So I appreciate that perspective. And I definitely want to talk get into talking about your books because you wrote three bestsellers. Thank you for doing that. I've written a book, and I know it's super hard. And you put a lot of yourself into that book, creating that book. So thank you for doing that. Tell us a little bit about each one of those three books and where folks can find them.
Yeah, well, the book that I love the most and that has a summary of everything that I talked about today, the seven pillars of abundance and how to get each area to a level 10, is a book called How to Make a Six-Figure Income Working Part-Time. And it's not a business plan, it's how to have each of these seven areas of life get to a level 10. After each chapter, there's three affirmations for each of the seven areas of life. So, for example, after emotions, which is the second or the third pillar, it says, I am feeling more peaceful every day. I enjoy being in the present moment. I am able to pause before I react. So you'll get 21 affirmations and you'll get tips, tools, and strategies to get your life to a level 10 in all seven areas. You can get it on Amazon and Audible. Then I did compilation books. So I was asked to write in a book called Blue Talks, Volume
Mhm.
4, and it stands for Business Life Universe. And it's all different entrepreneurs sharing their journey. And then the other book is another compilation, and it's called Phenomenal Feminine Entrepreneurs. And I'm very, grateful. I co-authored with Forbes Riley, who's a very well-known coach, and some other great women in that book. So all of the books are available on Amazon. And yeah, check them out. They have a lot of great food for thought, and they're great things to read at the beginning of the year to kind of set your tone for 2024.
Thank you again for writing those. We'll make sure we put the link to your books in the description, right? Those Amazon links. As we're going through and we're sharing some of these concepts, much of what you're sharing are basically Stoic principles. And so Stoic principles go back thousands of years to like Marcus Aurelius and other, really powerful philosophical thinkers. And so the thing that I love that you're doing is you're taking those philosophical thoughts, those Stoic principles, and you are bringing them forward to today. So folks don't have to go read Marcus Aurelius that was, thousands of years ago. You're giggling because I'm right about this, right? Don't go read his Stoic principles. Go and pick up Rebecca's book because it's more applicable. You're gonna get those same Stoic principles that are super important that she studies, that I study, that other, great thinkers study, right? So do yourself a favor. Don't try to go interpret what Marcus Aurelius is, laying down in, in the pages of his book. Go pick up Rebecca's books because they're so much more applicable to today. Rebecca, I appreciate you so much for coming on and sharing this stuff. For folks who want to learn more about you and maybe sign up for your coaching or whatnot, just reach out and say hi to you. What's the best place for them to? How do they connect with you?
Yeah, I also wanted to share a gift with your listeners.
Oh,
When I was a teenager, I was in a 12-step meeting and I sat down next to a woman named Janet, who I think to this day was an angel. And she said, I'm going to show you how to write in what she called a God journal. And she gave me some life-changing journal prompts, and I started writing in that format since I was a teenager. I've added a few journal prompts of my own, and this is how I start my day. Today, I got off to a little bit of a late start. As I said, I'm not an ascended master. So after this podcast, I'm going to go write in my journal. I call it now my abundance journal. And I have given it to thousands of people, and they have really benefited because it helps change your thinking from negative to positive, from scarcity to abundance. There's a gratitude portion of it, a surrender, all the things that I talked about today. This journal actually shows you how to practice it so you can get major momentum in 2024 and beyond. And I promise you, if you write in it every day for 10 days, you'll have a very dramatic breakthrough in your life in one of the seven areas. So I'm going to offer that as a gift. I would also love to stay in touch with you guys if you want to find out more about my coaching program that's launching at the end of January. It's called Elegant Warrior Training. You can go to my website, RebeccaElizabethWhitman.com. You can also ask me any question. I answer all my DMs on LinkedIn, Instagram. LinkedIn is Rebecca Whitman, Instagram is Rebecca E. Whitman. And I do offer complimentary coaching calls for people. Not often. I only open up 3 spots a week in my schedule. So if you're lucky enough to get one of those spots this week, you can also receive a complimentary coaching call from me, which is a $500 or $600 value.
Just amazing stuff. So I'll get the details on the freebie for the audience. Thank you for that. So appreciate you. I'll make sure we include that link in the description, in the detail block below. But also speaking about gratitude and journaling, that's another huge Stoic principle that you are bringing from way back Marcus Aurelius time, right? We're talking like BC. You're bringing forward and making it applicable for today. So
I
thank
had
you
no
for
idea
doing that.
I was a stoic until I did this interview.
Yeah, you absolutely are. A lot of these principles, a lot of these, you know, we don't want it to feel like, studying and I do study Stoic principles and the whole bit, and there's a lot of greatness that brings out in folks. It's difficult from the standpoint of some of it can be somewhat ancient and difficult to interpret. So it's important to have folks, again, like you, kind of pulling it forward and saying, hey, identify your goals, identify your weaknesses, identify or your fears, or where you have abundancy in your life that you can share with others. And there's a lot of goodness, as you journal and as you write down what you know what you're grateful for, right? Your gratitude journal, what you're grateful for, because there's so much negativity in the world today. We can get wrapped up in, oh, I don't have enough, whether that's love, materialistic things, money. I don't have enough. I don't have enough. But you know what? We have so much of an abundance around us that sometimes we forget. And doing that gratitude journal, right? Writing down what we're grateful for, super important. So thank you for sharing that with the audience. Man, that's powerful. And I encourage everybody to go out, seek that, and download it, get it, and start working on it, because you will find, like Rebecca shared, you will find some nuggets there that you're kind of like, oh, I'm learning as I go along the way. And so that's powerful. So Rebecca, thank you so much. Really appreciate having you on Dirty Boots Capital. You've been great. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tony. It's been great to talk to you.